So there's the deep state that people recognize that now the establishment media is talking about. You have the intelligence agencies that have been engaged in false flags and gun running and drug trafficking and torture and mind control experiments and all the rest of it. You have the bureaucracies that are, 98% anti-Trump. But then what's really important, I think, that people understand is the deep state behind the deep state. And here I talk about the Council on Foreign Relations, the Trilateral Commission, the Bilderberg Group, Skull and Bones, the secret society at Yale that Bush and Kerry were both members of. We talk about the Bohemian Grove, where, as we mentioned, they come together and they burn a child effigy, what they say is a child effigy in front of a 40-foot stone owl. And of course, the money men, right? We talk about George Soros and the Rothschilds, who actually helped finance George Soros. The Rockefellers, you have David Rockefeller admitting in his own autobiography that he's a conspirator conspiring against the best interests of his own country with a secret cabal for the purposes of creating a one world order. I mean, he admits this and he says he's proud of it. So at this point, they're out in the open now, and we have to understand what we're up against so that we can fight it.
You know, as negative as things are, we have come a long way. And we're living in an incredible time. And I just want to say thank God for Trump. The attacks, the demonization, the way they've gone after everybody that supports the president, I have experienced it. And I've been told by Democrats, just stop supporting Trump and accept Islam's takeover. And these are off-the-record discussions. People say, why don't you expose it? We're a journalist hat. If something's off record, if somebody isn't committing a crime, then it's off record. Somebody says, this is off record, I got kids in a basement, I'm going to go, oh, okay, thanks. And I'm going to call 911. But I can tell the Roth cop story, the head of the Kissinger group trying to hire me, because he said it all in front of John Harmon, the producer at the time, because we were on a three-way. And he said it all right there. It's like one time they had this Pentagon guy threatening me off air too, and I could say it because, he was there. Somebody could sue you if you don't have a witness to that type of stuff, and because it's so outrageous when people are doing it, you're like, whoa. But we're going to go to our next guest here. It's just staggering the will these people have for power, but they don't want to do any work. They don't even enjoy beauty. They just want the raw power, when that raw power isn't even fun. It's a responsibility. And we've come so far, because I was just looking at Alex Newman there on the TV screen about to go to for the New American Magazine in this huge issue, special edition they just put out dealing with the deep state. And they were writing about the deep state 40 years ago. I was writing about it 20 years ago, because that's what they call it in academic papers. The permanent state, the deep state, the shadow government, the COG. I mean, there's congressional hearings talking about the shadow government, but that's one aspect of the shadow government. Because you create a shadow government for nuclear war or other disaster, asteroid, you name it, that can then be used as the seed for the takeover of everything else. You can create a parallel government out of that, then start devolving and breaking down the old republic, transferring power to the new railway you've built and the train you built. Look at it as a train. And then use the final pieces of the old railway to melt it down and expand your new system. And that's the process that's happening. We're not just transferring our power to some Star Trek future where everybody's under UN control because we're all loving and everything's good. They're transferring it to a dictatorial, transhumanist, that's not your pop transhumanist, but exterminist program. And joining us is Alex Newman from the New American Magazine. And I've got here in my stack the big special edition dealing with globalism. And I've also dealing with deep state, pulling strings from behind the scenes. It's such a revolutionary thing to just get this out in the open and just expose the entire thing. Because for those of us that know about this, it's kind of like old hat. But now it's CNBC. Oh, at the World Government Summit, we decided that humans will be obsolete. And we're going to just get rid of humans for the earth. It's like, no big deal. That was last week, CNBC. So they've gone from trying to deny all this to just rolling it out. I wanted to get into that. And then the next segment, what does he think of Soros? Again, denying he wanted to take the web over, but it was in the WikiLeaks and everything, to now, we will ban everyone who is nationalist and arrest them as well. I mean, I have a stack of news, him saying it now. So is this their weakness? Is it them knowing they've lost the intellectual debates? Now they're hiding it in plain view. What point have we reached with the whole shadow government, not just the deep state here or the COG, but how it ties into other international deep state groups? That's what globalism is governments transferring things into deep state, into shadow government, then transferring the power to the global government. That's what they're doing. But that's being interrupted because we're simply pointing out the elephant in the room, and the Svengali magician trick, Alex, doesn't work anymore of just saying it doesn't exist, shut up, racist, shut up, anti-Semite, shut up, you know, whatever BS they, you know, pull out of the air. So, again, Alex Newman of thenewamerican.com. Thank you for joining us. What do you make of all this?
Alex, well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. And second of all, you know, you made some brilliant points here. And the fact that the deep state is now coming out into the open is indisputable. In fact, even the fake media's polls show that more than half of Americans recognize that we have a deep state and that it's operating behind the scenes and calling the shots in our government. And, you know, Robert Welch, the guy who founded the John Birch Society, which publishes The New American, actually said 50, 60 years ago when he was establishing this that right now everything's hidden. But as we get closer to the end, these people are going to have to do the equivalent of running through the street like a naked person, hollering and screaming. And I think we're getting in that phase now. And so this is the perfect opportunity for the American people to come together. They can't deny it anymore. So now they're coming out in the open. Now we have to understand what's going on so that we can put an end to it.
That's right. And how are they striking back as it gets exposed? I noticed they're doing character assassination campaigns against everybody that's resisting them.
Yeah, you know, they've been doing that for 50, 60 years. Back in the 60s, they smeared the John Birch Society like it was going out of style. And they're doing that today. They do it with everybody who exposes the establishment. You mentioned some of the terms they use. They say that people are racist or they're anti-Semitic or they're kooks or, you know, they have all kinds of little words that they use. But, you know, this doesn't really work on people who have an IQ over, say, 60 or 70. I mean, this is what they're feeding to the masses who are still, you know, obsessed with what's on the fake news and what's on the television. But the American people are wising up. And I think that this is going to be a race against time. I think it's going to be very interesting. And I think you hit the nail on the head before you went to break, Alex. This has a spiritual component that cannot be denied. These people are absolutely involved with the dark side, if you will, with what Lucifer is up to. And that's what's happening here. And if we expose it and if we do the right thing, I think we have a real chance. You know, you mentioned Trump. You know, it's incredible. The entire fake media was exposed as marginalized with his election. Every fake media outlet was against him, and yet he still won. So I think we have an incredible opportunity here. The media has been marginalized. The truth is coming out. They're trying to censor the internet, but it's not going to work. And so we have a huge, huge chance here to set these people back decades, generations.
I was about to say the overplaying and going, okay, there is a world government. Okay, we do plan to get rid of the human species as you know it. Okay, we are going to just shut you down and take your free speech. It's just incredible.
It is. And, you know, I think that might be their downfall. They have so much hubris. They have so much arrogance and audacity that they come out now and they tell us, hey, we're going to abolish all your freedoms. We're getting rid of nations. We're going to set up a global government. You know, the World Government Summit last week.
You can't have families. You can't have church. You don't say man. Don't write man or you'll get in trouble. Like what type of, that's beyond any dystopian novel I ever read. I mean, these people are just unbelievable.
They are, and they're evil. You know, you hit the nail on the head when you said it. They are evil, and the mask is coming off now. You know, look at the World Government Summit last year. They met under the Arch of Baal. I mean, you know, anyone who's read their Bible knows that Baal is the, you know, demonic false god who demands
children
child sacrifice. That's right. That's right. These people are, and, you know, you snuck into the Bohemian Grove. We spend a lot of time on the Bohemian Grove in this deep state special report. And you did the legwork here. You got in there and you filmed these people in front of a 40-foot stone owl doing a bizarre ritual, chanting, you know, cremation of care. You know, who does that, right? These are 2,500 of the most powerful men on the planet, and they're getting together, running around naked in the woods with hoods and burning what they claim was a child effigy. This is not what normal people do, and people are going to have to wake up here. This is a war between freedom, between what's right, between goodness, and these other people on the other side.
Let's be clear, the mascot of the World Government Summit, as you said, is Beelzebub. That's the translation of Baal. I mean, there is just no end to these people. Yeah, folks, Beelzebub, you heard it right. And Beelzebub wants to slowly torture you, dumb you down, suck your soul, and then throw you into a trash heap. Because, again, he wants to defile what God has made.
That's exactly right. And you know, they think that they were going to win. You know, they're coming out in the open. George H.W. Bush said in 1991, when we have this new world order, and we will be successful, credible United Nations is going to use its peacekeeping military forces to implement the vision of the UN's founders. Well, who are the UN's founders? You have Joseph Stalin on the Soviet side, one of the worst mass murderers in history, and then you have Alger Hiss, a communist.
Well, let's talk about that. Yeah. See, gun control is all about victim disarmament. And that's what, you know, one thing me and Michael Savage were kind of arguing about there is that I get his point that there can be some limitations in the Second Amendment, but not in this climate. People ask me why I have so much energy, why I'm on air, why I did this. I read about authoritarian regimes. I studied them because they were so interesting, just because I got into history when I was growing up. A lot like Alex Newman is a journalist and into history as well, and has degrees in that. And it's the real world is really entertaining and interesting. So I got into it more as a historical voyeur. And then I saw the same parallels. And now we are facing a planetary government that's anti-human, run by inbred psychopaths, allied with communist China. And Alex Newman, there is a new big special report, big special issue, Deep State, pulling the strings from behind the scenes, the New American Magazine, newamerican.com. You can print it off from online, but I suggest you buy the magazines in bulk because they sell them at cost. And this is some of the stuff that really helped wake me up. And I've not been in the John Birch Society. My dad gave some speeches for him and stuff back in the early 1960s because he was an anti-communist, obviously. And, you know, his dad had read The Naked Communist and The Naked Capitalist. I remember seeing that on their shelf when I was a little kid and reading it later. And it's all true. And without the John Birch Society, which has been so demonized and around, we wouldn't even have had a chance for Barry Goldwater and then some of the other people that weren't perfect but really carried the ball down the field against him. So, Alex, just in this segment, getting into the deep state, how it operates, where it is, what's happening to it right now, and just play-by-play researching this, what people need to know about it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for the opportunity, Alex. And so there's the deep state that people recognize that now the establishment media is talking about. You have the intelligence agencies that have been engaged in false flags and gun running and drug trafficking and torture and mind control experiments and all the rest of it. You have the bureaucracies that are, 98% anti-Trump. But then what's really important, I think, that people understand is the deep state behind the deep state. And here I talk about the Council on Foreign Relations, the Trilateral Commission, the Bilderberg Group, Skull and Bones, the secret society at Yale that Bush and Kerry were both members of. We talk about the Bohemian Grove, where, as we mentioned, they come together and they burn a child effigy, what they say is a child effigy in front of a 40-foot stone owl. And of course, the money men, right? We talk about George Soros and the Rothschilds, who actually helped finance George Soros. The Rockefellers, you have David Rockefeller admitting in his own autobiography that he's a conspirator conspiring against the best interests of his own country with a secret cabal for the purposes of creating a one world order. I mean, he admits this and he says he's proud of it. So at this point, they're out in the open now, and we have to understand what we're up against so that we can fight it. And of course, as you mentioned, there's a spiritual component. And if people miss that, they're missing the point, I think. So Ephesians 6:12 talks about spiritual forces and principalities and powers and spiritual wickedness in high places. And that's really at the center of all this. And if we don't understand what we're dealing with, we're not going to be able to fight it. So that's why we put out this special report. I hope people will get a copy. We basically run through everything you need to know about the deep state and then how we can stop it. And so people can find that at thenewamerican.com. As you mentioned, you can get it for free online. You can print it out, or you can order a special issue in bulk and distribute it, or you can even we now have it as an ebook if people want to get it that way.
But I tell you, people really love magazines, especially as print starts to go out. People like it more now than ever, because there used to be a glut of paper. Now there's a lot less. So at the barber shop, at the church, at the local library, that's what this is about. Buy books at InfoWars store, read them, and then pay it forward. Give it to somebody. Donate to the library. We're in an InfoWar, and every person you reach is a chain reaction. Like, my dad's dad reading Cleon Skousen's book, first edition, falling apart on the bookshelf, but my dad still has it. And then chain reaction, my dad and things he did, and then chain reaction. And little did I know that, my mom's brother was reading similar stuff. And then, he joined the army, and knew about it the whole time to fight it from within. And there's been a long shadow war going on for the Republic. And now we've pushed it out in the open, and the enemy doesn't like it.
That's right. And, you mentioned so many important things. Everything we do has a ripple effect. Roger Stone told us recently in an interview that Trump's father was a big supporter of the John Birch Society, a financier and a friend of Robert Welch, the founder. And I mean, clearly, this has had a tremendous impact. And, little things that you do, leaving a magazine at the dentist's office, somebody might pick that up and then that person might be elected to office and then that person might filibuster a bad bill. You have no idea the enormous impact.
Because they shovel their propaganda. That's like a rock slide. Your information is it's a key to get the rock slide out of the way. It's like a magic wand. A little bit of the truth crushes the lies. That's why they're so afraid of us.
That's right, Alex. They have billions, trillions of dollars at their disposal. They have all the mainstream dying media, and yet the truth is so powerful that even without a lot of money, even without a lot of power like these globalists have, we can still get it out. I mean, that's why you're so huge, Alex. That's why the truth is so powerful, because people hear it, and at first they fight it, but then they recognize, it goes with something with their experience, and they say, oh, my goodness. And after you wake up, you can't go back to sleep. Once you learn, you can't unlearn it. And so, the power of the truth is tremendous. And I think that's our greatest asset in this battle. We have the truth on our side. They have to operate on lies.
It's really amazing. Like you said, Fred Trump, Roger Stone knew him real well, and also knew his lawyer, Roy Cohn, who was demonized by Hollywood, but was overall a really good guy when it came to Stand for America. He was the Un-American Activities Committee lawyer for, obviously, McCarthy. McCarthy, it turned out, was right about everything he was investigating, basically. The left now is what they claim McCarthy was, but that's who actually trained Trump. The head of McCarthy's committee, and then a big secret John Bircher, which wasn't totally secret. It's in the New York Times going back 30 years ago. You can read it and stuff, Fred Trump's politics. But he was DL there in New York, but funding from behind the scenes, like we now know Trump's been doing for decades. Hundreds of millions of dollars for anti-NAFTA and GATT ads, you name it. Sometimes with his name not even on it, sometimes with his name on it. So Trump, that's why they're flipping out. They know what Trump really is.
That's right. And I think that is why they were freaking out during the election. And that's why they threw everything at him to destroy him. I think we've seen that with every true patriot that stands up. We saw them try to demonize Ron Paul in that way. They called him anti-Semitic and racist and kooky. They try it with you. They try it with the John Birch Society. They try it with anybody who opposes their power. But now with Trump having overcome their whole machine, it no longer works. You see them, they call everything racist now. They call black people racist now for disagreeing with their politics, and it doesn't work anymore. The American people saw through it. And so we have a historic opportunity. I mean, this is an incredible time to be alive, guys. We have a chance to defeat this evil, to set it back generations if we do the right thing. And if we lose, which we can't lose, we are heading toward darkness, toward tyranny that I don't think we can imagine. So we must get active. We must get busy.
And stay with us. We've got Dr. Corsi popping in, but I want to get your take on the Russian bot thing. And it's worse than we thought, almost completely run by the Democrats, which Corsi first broke early last year in 2017. And I was like, Corsi, come on, really? Really, it's Soros through Russia to embarrass Trump, and it turns out that's exactly what it is. And when we say Soros, he's at the center of a whole bunch of corporations and combines, but he is at the center of all of it because he's the guy that is just willing to just dump unbelievable amounts of money into it. So we're going to come back with Alex Newman of the New American Magazine, thenewamerican.com. The war has just begun, but we're beginning to turn the tide. The enemy is moving against free humanity everywhere. We need your financial support. We sell amazing products at very, very low prices that everybody needs: water filtration, air filtration, books, videos. Shirt of the month is collector's item. InfoWarsStore.com. We got a bunch of specials, 50% off, that have got to end. After the show today, I'm coming up with new specials. So these big, huge specials we've been running are about to end. 50% off on a whole bunch of our best sellers. InfoWarsStore.com. Stay with us. We'll be back.
Someone very profoundly once said many years ago that if fascism ever comes to America, it'll come in the name of liberalism.
I'm a nasty woman.
If you are receiving this transmission, you are the resistance.
Criminal elements inside the government, the deep state, are working with the media with fake news and fake leaks to try to undermine Trump's recovery. That's really the big news.
A soft coup is underway right here in the United States of America in an attempt to overturn November's election results and forcibly remove a duly elected president from office. Sinister forces quickly aligning in what is becoming now in my mind, a clear and present danger.
When you see leaders on the left calling for essentially rising up and they allow for Antifa to do all the violence that they do, and then you have the beheading of the president virtually by Kathy Griffith, and this play where President Trump is killed, and you have a certain percentage of the population who's going to buy into that, who become completely desensitized, become completely radicalized, and act.
A gunman opened fire when members of Congress and their staffs.
In the hours after 5 people were shot, including the House Majority Whip, you sent out a tweet that said, "Hunt Republicans." I mean, it was clearly a reference to the assassination attempt against Congressman Scalise. It's hard to imagine how you could justify writing something like that.
For too long, Republicans in this country have failed to distinguish the differences between politics and war. And a lot of Democrats have failed to see the similarities. So you guys either have to tone down the rhetoric or we have to step up.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have so much proof of the Democrats saying, overthrow Trump, use COG, kill him, kill his supporters, cancel the last election, remove the Republicans that were elected in the last 2016 election. I mean, I've got the mainstream articles here where they're pushing it.
Here in America, we're at a turning point tonight with forces now forming an alliance to try and remove President Trump from office. It's that serious.
The left-wing media is out to get him. They are out to nullify an election for the first time.
America is now suffering from a massive informational crisis because, I call them the Destroy Trump media, has routinely been exposed now. Agenda-driven, propagandist, more than happy to push debunked tinfoil hat conspiracy theories.
Sean Hannity is currently the main leader of the resistance against the globalist outside of Trump, and then, of course, myself. But I am more grassroots, and I'm more frontline, being demonized, being attacked. It's my job to get the intel out, to take the main attack, to draw the enemy fire, so that we understand exactly what we're dealing with.
You've got the Destroy Trump media that has been lying to you now, provable lies for 11 months, nonstop. Trump, Russia, collusion. No evidence whatsoever.
The Russians, in my opinion, could not have known how best to weaponize that information unless they had been guided. And they began to have some of their allies within the internet world, like InfoWars, take out pieces and began to say the most outrageous, outlandish, absurd lies you can imagine.
You have RT, you have Sputnik, you have Ruppli, and then I think you have them feeding other entities. InfoWars comes to mind, where those are echo chambers.
The way that the left is going about trying to demonize the president, essentially justify and ignore the violence on their side, and then reinforce that with a complete, the imagery of death being acceptable, Kathy Griffith using the beheaded image of the president. All these things are the same way ISIS goes about radicalizing and recruiting people to become terrorists.
This is unprecedented, to have a president that behaves this way. Can anyone go back in history?
When was the last time an actor assassinated a president?
It's a sad day when you cannot depend on the president's word. And my advice would just be to Republicans who do cozy up to him, it's just like hugging a suicide bomber.
He's not a tough guy. He's a bully and he's a bitch.
He's a punk. He's a dog. He's a pig.
And he can suck my
He's a con, a bullshit artist, a mutt.
I'll meet him in a hotel room any other day of the week and give him a Louisville Slugger.
I'd like to punch him in the face.
Kiss my mother ass, you bitch punk sucker.
Pointing what appears to be a water gun at the image of President Donald Trump projected on a whiteboard, art teacher Pale Modi has now been seen by countless viewers across the internet.
Yes, I have thought an awful lot about blowing up the White House.
It's an actor dressed to look just like President Donald Trump as he's assassinated on stage.
Pictures and video depicting comedian Kathy Griffin holding the bloody, decapitated head of President Trump are no joking matter for the Secret Service.
The rhetoric
that has inspired the violence has come from the mainstream of the Democratic Party.
They're involved in the coup, an active attempt to start a bloody civil war.
If you are receiving this transmission, you are the resistance.
As the InfoWars family of listeners and viewers know, we are always researching and bringing you the very cutting edge of high quality products. And that's especially true when it comes to nutraceuticals and supplements. We know that our modern environment is bombarding our guts with all sorts of toxins and heavy metals and pesticides, herbicides that basically kill the good flora. We have been working for several years with top researchers in the United States to bring you 3 new, top-of-the-line, affordable probiotics that are true game changers. Now, the first is a digestive enzyme that I'm extremely excited about. All of us know that if you eat a lot of meat and a lot of protein, and you don't chew it properly, sometimes there's buildup. You can even rot inside your guts, causing diverticulitis, you name it. You don't get the good micronutrients that are in it as well. Well, Carnivore from InfoWars Life, ladies and gentlemen, is the next level of digestive enzyme. And when you take it, combined with the new Flora Life that I'm going to break down here in a moment, and also the everyday Flora Life maintenance, they synergistically work together. The globalists are bombarding our gut. They know it's the key to taking control of civilization and society. It is the true Trojan horse. And whether it's our new digestive enzyme, Carnivore, or whether it's the new Flora Life Advanced Restoration, or the Flora Life Everyday Maintenance, it is critical for you and your family to have healthy guts, and it is undoubted that there are serious benefits from proven high-quality probiotics. There are some similar formulas out there that are at least 3 times the cost of this. And people think because they're paying more, it must be the best. That's not my philosophy, ladies and gentlemen. I'm bringing you something that is the very best from our deep research, working with top developers, scientists, and experts in the field at the lowest price. But whether you take 1, 2, or all 3, I have never experienced the type of energy and the type of digestive ease and the changes that I went through in the last few months going on this formula before we brought it to you. We believe from working with top experts in the United States that we have developed the very best probiotic and digestive enzyme for breaking down protein and meat that there is. This is the total win-win. It uses the modern techniques as well, so it doesn't have all the additives and garbage. Simply put, our new Flora Life line is the very best out there. That is my goal here, is to bring you the very best at the lowest price. Many probiotics out there don't even have caplets that bypass the stomach, so it never even gets into the upper and lower intestines. Both of these systems have targeted delivery, so it goes right through into the upper and lower intestine. We've tried several other formulas that were excellent, but this is, after 2 years of research, what we are bringing to the market. And your purchase doesn't just give you better digestive health and all the different micronutrients and things you need. It also funds an organization dedicated to promoting liberty worldwide. Whether it's Flora Life Advanced Restoration, Carnivore, digestive enzyme, or the everyday maintenance that's great for the go, it's all available at InfoWarsStore.com today. And when you purchase it, you know you are also financing the attack on the globalist and the defense of our republic and freedom worldwide.